government cracking down on news coverage. The VOA turns to citizen journalists. I'm Peggy Fox. I'll have the story coming up. You know, the main source of information for people in Iran is the Voice of America. But for the 200 or so employees who work here in Washington, putting on those some 9 hours of Persian newscasts every day, it keeps getting more and more challenging.
We've got to turn it backwards. We've got to turn it the other way.
Setare Darakhshesh, a native of Iran, is about to anchor a live broadcast in Farsi to her homeland for the Voice of America's Persian News Network. Though the unbiased U.S.-funded service is banned by the Iranian government, 1 in 4 adults in Iran watch or listen to the VOA, according to their own research.
The latest news from Iran is that they are not letting the foreign media cover some of the demonstrations, and this is giving a forum to the people to say what they want.
With the continuing protest over the election, on Monday, the VOA decided to add a 2-hour live breakfast show every day, which goes on at 11 p.m. our time.
So we scrambled, and we're able to do that, and now we're trying to sustain it and keep it going so that once we plant that flag in the morning, we'll be the ones that the Iranian people turn to.
Getting the VOA's signal into Iran is like a game of cat and mouse. Just before the election, the Iranian government jammed the satellite signal, but VOA engineers figured out an ingenious way around it. They sent the signal next to Iran's signal, so any jamming would jam their own. Another problem, according to the VOA, some news organizations were pressured to stop sharing pictures from inside Iran with the VOA. But they've gotten around that too.
We got about 30 just overnight.
They keep sending in their own pictures and video of the ongoing protests.
They have access to phones, they have access to these visuals, and they can give us an idea of the sheer numbers involved in these protests.
The VOA is also getting views, information, and pictures directly out of Iran on its PNN blog, its Facebook and Twitter pages, and also its YouTube channel. It's a little difficult for the Iranian government to control information with all those outlets.
One of the best assets the United States government has is the Voice of America Persian language service. On any given night, Greta, 20 million Iranians are watching. 20 million. So we've got an asset, and we can use that asset. That's why I'm saying the U.S. Congress, if it gets on the bandwagon supporting the Iranian, that message will get into Iran via the Persian language.
And that will inspire them. Anyway.
Stand by.
Some 6,000 miles from Tehran in Washington, D.C. Voice of America's Setare Darakhshesh is broadcasting live for VOA's Persian News Network. The target audience, primetime viewers in Iran. Even before the election, VOA bought extra satellite paths into Iran to avoid any government jamming. Since the election, VOA has ramped up its TV broadcasts into the country, bringing viewers programming in their native language, Farsi.
You need to remind yourself constantly that it's not something personal.
Iranian-American staffer Vafa Mustaqim says he knows firsthand what it's like not to get the real story inside Iran.
We don't make a decision for them, we just provide the information for them. So they're not getting it from their media. That's why they're tuning to VOA.
In the post-election crisis, staffers say traffic to the VOA website has expanded 200%, with an avalanche of videos and pictures.
Right now, I'm getting about 1 video submission every minute or 2.
Wow. It's incredible volume.
It is an incredible volume, and then right now our challenge is to just keep up with it and making sure we're putting the best stuff on air.
Voice of America is funded by American taxpayer dollars, and its charter calls for presenting U.S. policies clearly and effectively. But VOA executive editor Steve Reddish, a longtime journalist and former CNN producer, says VOA strives to present all sides.
There's always a danger in any operation in showing any kind of bias. That's something that we're vigilant about all the time.
As for Iran's accusation of U.S. meddling, VOA officials reject that. They argue they give both the U.S.'s and the Iranian government's views and say their broadcasts present straightforward facts. Elaine Quijano, CNN, Washington.
At the Voice of America's Persian service in Washington, producers are overloaded with amateur video.
These folks are in mourning. They're all wearing black. That's part of the way that we can tell that this is Today video.
Viewers in Iran are uploading hundreds of images an hour to the VOA's servers.
I keep waiting or keep worrying that there's going to be a stop in the footage that we get, which would be a warning sign to us that they've blocked us, but not yet.
The VOA broadcasts these images back to Iran in its nightly newscast. An estimated 30% of the country tunes in regularly.
People in Iran who are suffering under this regime understand they're not alone. They're not alone in the world, and they're not alone in Iran.
Big Brother is still watching, but apparently unable to stop it. David Wright, ABC News, Washington.
But the message the government wants to convey is clear. The demonstrators are foreign-inspired rioters, looters, and terrorists.
We misused the crowds and riots and started to steal.
We were provoked by networks like the BBC and the Voice of America to take such immoral actions.
From its Washington newsroom today, VOA's government-sponsored Persian News Network has seen its viewers and internet traffic surge 800%, despite attempts to jam the signal.
The Iranian authorities are doing everything possible within their power to prevent the news of what's actually happening inside Iran from getting to their own people.